Good afternoon and welcome to Williams Island TV. Today we have a very busy day, a lot of exciting ideas and thoughts and such that we're going to be working with and interviewing today. And let me just briefly tell you, first we're going to have Cantor Janine Shelley, my charming, beautiful wife, that's going to talk about Friday night service and Passover Seder, which is coming up right around the corner. In addition, we're going to have Jeff Klein, our COO, and because we didn't have a board of directors meeting this week, we thought we would have an update given by Jeff regarding all of the things happening on the island. Thirdly, we will then be listening with Carrie, who's coming from the spa, Carrie Griffin, our spa director, and she has a lot of new and exciting things happening that we want to talk about. And then last but certainly not least, today we have a very special guest in Dr. Mark Gittleman. And Dr. Gittleman specializes in longevity and sexual health. And what better subject to discuss at this time in life than people's happiness, their relationships, their hormone therapy, their sexual life and such. But we will keep it PG, I promise you. At this point, everything is going beautifully on the island. Financially, we're in excellent shape. You're going to hear shortly about the improvements that we're working with and the opening of the new offices, the project that we're working on with the club. So with that, we'll get into meeting with Cantor Janine. Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you.
It seems strange getting to interview my wife because it's one of the few times I get to have a say in anything. But anyway, on a serious note, you've been doing Friday nights here for years, and you've been doing Passover Seders for years. You don't get paid, obviously, for it. You do it because you truly love it. You're the cantor at Aventura Turnberry. Why do you do the Friday night services on the island? What is it about it that you love so much?
Well, we have so many amazing activities here on Williams Island, and there's some paths that cross, like if you are in the gym or you play tennis or pickleball, if you go to the spa or you go to dinner. But there's a lot of people that are not meeting each other, and I thought it would be a beautiful way to get a segment of the population here, especially the people that come and go and they don't actually get to make friends or meet people, giving them a beautiful opportunity to have a delicious dinner and to have a Sabbath service that no matter what your background is, you feel comfortable. We live in Aventura where there's so many options for synagogues, and it's a wonderful, wonderful community. But sometimes we just want to stay where we live and have a service and have a delicious dinner and meet and greet our neighbors.
But I think we're missing a very important point that I think we've talked about. I would say on Williams Island, and this is an amazing percentage, but it's true, we have approximately 5,000 people that live on the island. And I would say of that, probably 30 to 40% are of the Jewish faith. And of that percentage, 90% are unaffiliated. And they have no affiliation with a synagogue of any, whether it's Reformed, Conservative, or Orthodox. We do have an Orthodox shul, you can see a Trump synagogue on the island. But what you're doing is you're giving people an opportunity not only to pray and have a spiritual experience, but they don't know where to go. We have almost 200 new families a year moving onto the island. A lot of children, a lot of families, a lot of young families. The demographics have changed drastically. So I think what you're doing is you're giving an opportunity to people that are not affiliated to get a spiritual experience. The social aspect of it is very important, but I think the spirituality and giving that person, that must be very rewarding to you. I mean, you look out in the room on a Friday night and you don't know most of the people there, and yet you realize they are neighbors.
Well, Bob, I think that the reason that people feel comfortable here when they come to a service is because, as we've said before, it doesn't matter whether you go to shul all the time or you haven't been to shul since your bar bat mitzvah. It's an opportunity to pray, but we have music and participation, and it's a really nice experience for people that live here, that they can come, and we do it in season, one Friday night a month. And our last one is on March 31st. And we have, I'm being joined by a very dear friend of mine, cantorial soloist and music director, Adina Sharfstein, who plays a wonderful guitar and has a beautiful voice. and we're going to sing together. And it's so appropriate, not only if you have young children, but also if you're single. We're going to have a community table. So if people are coming and they don't know who to sit with, they don't know anyone, there'll be a table for the Shabbat dinner so you can meet new neighbors, meet and greet, and feel comfortable, even if you don't know someone who's coming yet. So.
And I think it's very important on that point. If you call and you make a reservation, whether you're 2, 3, 4, 5, or just one, let them know you don't mind sitting with somebody else, because we can't always accommodate 100 tables of 2 people only.
Right, exactly.
So tell them you'll join whomever, because that really is the essence of Shabbat anyhow.
Correct.
Being part of a community which we've tried to create.
Yes.
And the service you do is in no way competition with, let's say, the Willie and Celia Trump Synagogue on the island. That's totally a different style of service. Beautiful service. And for those that are Orthodox, I would recommend highly that Rabbi Horowitz is an amazing rabbi and has an amazing service. What we do is what you do, not we. What you do is offer an alternative for everybody.
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter. It's an evening. It's a Shabbat evening. It's a Friday night evening. It's a change from what people are normally expecting.
Right.
You just come in, have a beautiful prayer service. You have a nice Shabbat era service. The music is amazing. And then you have a nice Shabbat dinner and you go home with your family.
Yes. And let's segue into the Passover Seder.
Please.
So the Passover Seder, whether or not you have 20 people in your family, or it's just you, or it's just you as a couple, or 2 women that want to come together, or 2 men that want to come together, if you would like to be part of the community, the Passover Seder is amazing here. The food is delicious. There's a lot of singing, a lot of participation. And again, if you have young children, if you have grandchildren, or again, we will have a communal table for singles so that you can meet each other and sing together. And it's just a beautiful thing that Williams Island provides for all the people that live here. But you need to sign up quickly because it does get sold out very quickly. And we would love to sing with you and pray and have a great time. Last year's service was led with Adina Sharfstein, who is incredible as well with her voice and her guitar. And I think that it just brings the community together, and we're here for you. So I hope you join us, and thank you so much. Again, I'm Cantor Janine Shelley, and this is my husband, your president, Bob Shelley, and we just want to be here for you as a community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're back. And of course, no introduction is needed for Jeff. Jeff's the COO of the island. And I was just informed, and I totally forgot, this is almost his 1-year anniversary.
That's right.
The last time we did an interview was his first week. But more importantly, we haven't had a board meeting this month because of a conflict with a lot of the board members that were supposed to be here and they couldn't make it. And in fairness to the island, we thought there's so many things happening, so many questions that we've been asked about it. I thought Jeff would give us a brief update on where we are with the road disaster
Sure.
that's going on, that's done by the county.
Sure.
We have all the excitement with the new clubhouse, when we're opening the offices, food and beverage. So with that,
Robin, sure. Thanks for having me back on the Williams Island live show. I love being here. I love listening to all the other guests. But I know there's a lot of questions, and people are always asking, well, what's happening and what's going on? So let me start with the first, the county road work. As you can see, when you're dealing with the county, nothing goes quickly, but I'm proud to announce that all of the underground work from the main gate to the resident gate is completed, albeit the road is not perfect. The sewer line connections have been made, and we're now looking at some pricing to do some resurfacing of the road. Sometime in April, they'll fix and start working on the area near the 2000 and 1000 building. And they expect to be hopefully out of here by the late Q3 time with all of the work on the island. So albeit it's been a little bit of a hassle, we certainly appreciate everyone's patience, and we know that once it's done, it'll be for the benefit of the community and all of the sewer flow and all of that. So it'll be time worth waiting for. The small project's been exciting. We're also dealing with a few small hiccups with permits and fire devices, but that's all natural and takes its course on these projects. we anticipate getting into the new offices, which are on the south side of the tennis center, late March, early April. Then we can move into the pro shop, which is a brand new pro shop. The design is spectacular. Carlos and Carrie have really worked hard curating some new retail offerings that will take place in that shop. And then we're going to get through the rest of the season before we really take a stab at the deli. But the deli will be renovated. It'll have a new name. We'll launch it. And all of a sudden, what used to be the tennis patio, deli, and pro shop will really turn into what I'm going to call the hub of the wheel. And you could see a brand new investment in 2 luxury cabanas, gorgeous furniture. The place is really starting to feel luxurious and not a tennis patio. Yes, we've got amazing tennis facilities. We wanted to give an upgraded look, feel, and experience to all the residents, whether you play tennis or pickleball. We just wanted that place to feel a little bit more like home, and I think we've accomplished that. You can't get a seat on a Saturday, you can't get a seat on a Sunday, so it's really starting to come together nicely. Here we are sitting on the patio of the ballroom. That's our next big project. We had an amazing call yesterday with our designers and architects and construction company. But before I tell you a little bit about that, we did make a decision on the island to hire an owner's rep. We hired a company called Stice Hospitality. Brian Stice and his partner Chris Zani both came from very reputable firms, have been in the owner's rep business for a decade plus, and have been dealing very large projects in Miami. And when we were vetting companies, we were looking for a company that aligned with the goals and the needs of what our project is. And as you know, because you're privy to it, this is a detail-oriented project. Every little touch point will make a difference to the experience. And Brian and Chris and their team are perfectly aligned with the Williams Island team to make sure we take the project through the design phase, construction phase, on time, on budget, and ultimately deliver a world-class experience to the residents.
And let me just interrupt on that point. And one of the reasons we brought this gentleman in, this company, we have an architect, EOA, who is one of the finest in the world in hospitality design. We also have a fantastic engineering company that's working with us. But we needed the owner's rep because hospitality is specialized in itself. And we are limited to a certain type of budget that we must stay within. We have financing already in place. We promised the island, and we intend to stick to it. There will not be any assessments on this. But we wanted to make sure that we value engineered this to the very last detail before we start construction. So a lot of people have asked, why is it delayed? Why is it delayed? It's been delayed because of the delay and because of our reevaluating and re-engineering it, we've saved millions of dollars on the cost of this project, thanks to Jeff, the team that we have, and the construction committee headed by John Fells. So it's been a very worthwhile delay, but we are intending to start sometime probably May or June.
Yeah, the schedule looks early June for mobilization, and we won't talk timelines today because I've learned my lesson being here 11 plus months that we'll tease you a little bit about what's about to happen, and then we'll share more details as they're presented to us. But we're super excited about the project. The presentation yesterday really, it came to life for me and you and John and everyone else on that call, and it'll just be an amazing addition to the amenities offered at Williams Island, which is really the goal, to continue to polish the diamond, increase home values, create better experiences. We've brought in, I heard you say it when you were talking to Janine, there's a tremendous amount of new residents on the island, and the average age is coming down. There's a tremendous youth population that's exploding. We're fortunate through the C&E committee efforts with Carrie's leadership and Arlene's leadership, we've launched an entire 0 to 13 program for kids on the island. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you. I know we have residents like Danielle Kramer who have been intimately involved helping, but what's really exciting is these events are packed. They are fully engaged, and it's exciting for us because it's a whole new demographic that we get to engage with and create memorable experiences. So a lot of stuff happening on C&E. You've got
Wait, I'm going to stop you on
Okay.
that.
Go
Only
ahead.
because I want to get a plug in for a show coming up that
Okay.
nobody should miss. And that's the Frank Sinatra show.
Yeah, I mean, March 9th.
Yeah.
It's a Frank Sinatra tribute. A gentleman by the name of Michael Martocci. He was a handler for Frank Sinatra. He grew up traveling the world with Frank Sinatra. And when Frank passed, his only wish in life was to keep Frank's music alive. He doesn't get on stage and try to impersonate him. He doesn't get on stage and try to, act like him. But what he does is he brings Sinatra's music to life with a 22-piece orchestra. He opens his show with a comedian. The community's asked us for off-island events. We're not going far. We're going to the Aventura Cultural Center right around the corner. The ticket price is $75. If you were to see this show somewhere else, it would be $100, $150. And it's a private show for the residents of Williams Island. Whether there's one person in the audience or 300, the show will go on and it will be spectacular.
And by the way, there are not a lot of seats left, so please get your tickets early. It's next week.
It is, it's next week. And then believe it or not, March 27th is our spring party and sort of the culmination of a great season. We've got a lot of great things planned. I know a teaser flyer went out this week, details to follow, but that event will be widely supported by the food and beverage operation, which has made dramatic changes over the last 90 days at Williams Island. We are so blessed to have Thaddeus and his team, constantly evolving, changing menus, adding items, but most important, every step of the way, we say yes to resident requests. So if it's not on the menu, just ask Thaddeus and the team. I'm sure they'll make it for you.
Well, I guess that gives you a little understanding of why Jeff is here and look what he's accomplished. But I have to tell you something interesting about this year. Usually when someone of Jeff's caliber comes in, and he came to us through Turnberry, who we had 14 years with the Sofa family, they bring their team, they bring their key people, because it's easier to work with a team that you're familiar with. In this case, Jeff came in, he had an open hand to decide what happened, who stayed, who didn't, within reason, but obviously he had to evaluate. And other than one person who left voluntarily, we have not had to make one change throughout the entire year because of the quality and the caliber of what we have as a team that you have.
Yeah, I mean, the team,
It's-
when I came in, I said to Bob, this is the best team that we have now, let's assess it.
Yeah.
And I've been through this several times in my career, and it doesn't always work out that way. But what I experienced was a passionate team that cares beyond. This is their family. And we talk about this in our Wednesday directors meetings. We talk about work-life balance and how important the balance is. And when we talk balance, we're not talking time, because we all spend far more time here than we do with our families. But because the culture on this island continues to get better and the feeling of inclusion and collaboration is there, they really are. I mean, they're a fantastic team, and I just get to lead it. They're the ones doing all the amazing work, and everything that you see coming to life on the island is really being led by the directors, from Carrie to Carlos and Arlene, and CJ and Thomas and Thaddeus and Joy and
It keeps going.
Noel. I mean, talk about Noel. 26 years and finally the director. This is a guy who's put half of his life into Williams Island.
Yes.
And now he's leading the single most important department on the island.
Absolutely, security.
And doing a fantastic job. So, I'm blessed to have the team that works with me every day. I'm excited to be here. And yes, I'm celebrating my 1-year anniversary, and I look forward to many, many more updates on this show and board meetings. So again, thanks for having me, and have a great day.
And we are blessed to have you. Thank you.
Bob. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And we're back. And again, as I always say, we don't really need an introduction for who we have here with us today. But we wanted Carrie here because it's a perfect segue into our doctor that's going to be with us very shortly, talking about health, nutrition, longevity, etc. But I know we have so much that goes on the island anyhow.
Yes.
And we have all of this, and this is just an addition. And I mean, you look at Carrie and you look at this personality, the smile and the attitude, and she's like an Energizer bunny. And that's all because of her energy and all of her health and nutrition. Sort of. And she's also happily in love. That's more important.
All right, here
But
we
anyway,
go.
more importantly, tell us a little about what's going on at our spa.
So I believe in
Don't blush, it's
living
okay.
in living what we do. So at the spa at Williams Island, we talk about nutrition, we talk about fitness, exercise, taking care of yourself, getting massages, which is a proven immune booster, taking care of your skin from the inside out. So I love what I do, and I do my best to do all of the things I just mentioned. And so we try to bring that to you as well. And we have 3 workshops coming up with Tatiana. She is our nutritional coach. That she will talk about your gut health, how your gut health is linked to your mental health. There's been a lot of studies talking about that comparison and how one can affect the other. She's going to talk about toxins in our food. And she has 3 workshops coming up. One is this Saturday, March 11th, and 2 more are in April. So please sign up on your club calendar, join Tatiana. She is someone who gets so passionate, so excited when she talks about food. So it will be a very interesting 3 topics, and she will have food there. She will prepare food, so you'll get to taste it. She's also talking about juicing, the benefits, and how to actually put together juices. She'll have recipes for you, so it's really exciting.
Somebody asked me that's new on the island. If they want to come to your office, do you have an evaluation program that you have to evaluate the needs of a person?
Yes.
So how does that work? Who would they call, and is there a charge? How do you do that?
There's no charge. It's a fitness assessment. We go through the InBody machine, which has body fat composition, the amount of bone that you have, the amount of water that you have within your body, and then from that spurs a whole conversation of your fitness program, your eating program, and we also have a PAR-Q for fitness. This is a very basic way of getting your fitness parameters, and if we need to get a doctor's note saying that you are able to participate in a fitness program. If someone wants to go further into their nutrition, then we can sign them up with Tatiana for a nutrition assessment, a nutrition overview. But that initial fitness assessment, it's free of charge. They call the front desk, or they can talk to me in person or call me, and then we set them up and get that done. It typically takes about 45 minutes to an hour.
All right, so in other words, somebody can go for this fitness assessment, and all they have to do is call the office, the front desk. They'll make an appointment with them.
Right.
All right, so what we should do is get an email blast or something out, because with so many new residents on the island, they have no idea we have this and for them. And they're all wondering, do I take Pilates? Do I take biking? Do I take this?
Right.
It'll help this.
It'll help. We do have a link on our spa email that comes out every Friday, so we can always enhance that and include it maybe in the Monday email to get your fitness assessment. And we do have a lot of new members.
I know.
Yes.
We are
It's
getting,
exciting. It's great.
no, we have, our average age on the island has dropped almost 10 years from, I think it was close to 60 to close to 50. We are getting about 200 new families a year on the island now,
Yes.
which is amazing. And I think a lot of that is because there's schools in Aventura. They have the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school, all A-rated charter schools. So we are the beneficiary of getting some of these families. But you left out one item that you're doing that you didn't tell us about, and that is the spa refresh. And I
Yes,
know
the
we
spa
needed that
refresh.
badly. So tell us
Yes,
what's going to
yes.
happen there.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited.
Yes.
So we're going to go into both of our locker rooms first. We'll replace the carpet, replace the wallpaper, replace the lighting, and then from there we'll go into a phase 2. But the basic foundational items will be done hopefully May, June-ish. So again, carpet, wallpaper, lighting in both locker rooms. And then we're going to do a couple of items upstairs in the spa boutique area. The banquette that is like the curved bench is going to be reupholstered. And we're going to have a new lighting fixture in front of the front desk, along with the salon. So the salon will also be part of this refresh, new floors and basic items. So we're very excited.
Oh yeah, very. So I won't keep you because I know you have to get back to work. But when Jeff talked about the longevity of how long people have been here, considering Carrie is only 37 years old, how long have you been with us, Carrie?
Close to 30 years.
Is that amazing? 30 years. She started out as a trainer, and here she is. She runs the entire operation for us.
Yeah, Williams Island has been very good to me. I'm very grateful.
Well, you've been very good to Williams Island, and we want to thank you, and we look forward to a lot more. Thank you all very much. And we're back, and now we saved the best for last. Let me explain a little bit what we're doing this afternoon, because you've heard from Jeff, you've heard from Carrie, and you've heard from Cantor Janine. But when we talked with Carrie, she was talking about health, wellness, fitness, general health, what we can do to improve our health in ourselves, whether through exercise, through vitamins, through nutrition. And we were very blessed to have on the island a resident, Dr. Mark Gittleman, who not only is a world-famous urologist, but more importantly, I feel at the moment, is specializing, whether it be hormone therapy, whether it be anti-aging, whether it be sexual health, whether it be any and all of the above. And I think it's such a poignant topic today because it's so important, especially, we all at an age need something. And it's not just about taking a pill, it's more about general health, it's more about how you live your lifestyle. So I'm not going to talk about what I think I know because we have someone who does know. Mark is not here to sell his practice today, he's here to sell health and make sure that we as residents and neighbors get the most out of our life and our lifestyle and find out what it is we can do to have a more healthy life. One of the things is not how old you live and how long you live, but what is the quality of life that you lived during those years. And I can tell you, I go to Mark, Dr. Gittleman and I have been friends for years, but I also respect what he does. And for that reason, I thought it'd be great if we imposed upon him. He's giving up a very busy day to be here with us, but I felt, and he felt, this is really the most important part of what we do here.
It is. Thanks, Bob. That's a perfect segue to exactly what patients are looking for, right? There's no such thing as like turning back the hands of time, but what patients really want, they want to at least stay in the place where they are, or to do even better, whether it's hormones, whether it's body composition, whether it's mood, all that sort of thing. So the concept of anti-aging, we don't really like that term anymore. It's age management, right? What can we do to manage the age to do our best?
Okay, now I want to stop you just for a moment before we get into that, because I think probably one of the most important questions people are going to want to know is how did you get into this from urology into, call it, longevity of quality of health? How did that all become? And I know you have in your office a separate room, separate floor, separate offices.
That's right.
How did you start this? That's what I think people would like to know first.
I've been a board certified urologist now for 25 plus years. And we have a research center that allowed us to research almost every aspect of sexual medicine. We also do prostate cancer, overactive bladder, things like that. But we really did some of the very first trials for things like Viagra, Levitra, Cialis, the hormones, women's health. So it allowed me to sort of focus in on my true passion, which is hormone balance for women, hormone balance for men. And also sexual medicine, which the cornerstone to sexual medicine is balancing hormones and then addressing, what the issues are. So for women, those issues might be issues of sex drive. They might come to me for issues of sexual arousal, issues of physical sexual arousal. They may have issues with orgasm, issues with pain during intercourse. So we balance hormones first. I sort of want to sort out what their goals are. That's the sexual medicine side, but it's all based on keeping their hormones balanced, right? We're not optimal. This is no offense to you, but because you're finely tuned. We're not optimal when we're 70 and 80, right? You being the exception, of course. But my point is that as men, we're more optimized, if you will, when our hormones are good, when we're 20s and 30s and 40s. So the goal is to try to keep that, we call it a hormonal milieu, if you will, to get the levels that when we were really optimal life. Not crazy stuff, you know, it's really keeping people in a good space, a safe space. Because of my academic training, I'm very careful. We do things that are only based on science. And probably the hallmark of my practice at Optimal Health is that as a physician, I basically see every single patient. Every consult is anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. Every lab evaluation that I do right in front of the patient, whether we're on Zoom or we look up on a big screen, because what I have been trained and what I believe, I need to listen to my patients. I need to look in their eyes. I need to understand what makes them comfortable, what makes them comfortable. For the women, same concept, right? When are women optimized? It's not postmenopausal, right? And when they go to menopause, the ovaries poop out, they're losing their estrogen, they're losing their progesterone, they're losing their testosterone. So my goal is to see, okay, let's see what symptoms they have, let's see where their levels are, let's optimize them for a time when they were better. Like women were designed to be more optimal premenopausal. I know that'll get me in trouble, but that's the
All right, so
milieu we look
let
for.
me ask you about that, not to interrupt, but number one, it must be a difficult decision for the average person to say, okay, I need help. I'm not sexually active, or I have a pain, or whatever, or I just don't feel good. I'm lethargic, I don't have the energy. And what makes you, how do you get people to recognize you offer this? But I think what you said in making that decision is it's overseen by a doctor. And so many of these places you go to, for whether it's hormone therapy or whether it's whatever the case may be, there's no doctor supervision. There's a nurse in a room and whatever. But how does somebody identify that they need Dr. Gittleman? And it's not just hormone. It could be body composition. It could be energy levels. It could be inflammation. How do you get them to understand they might need something like that? And then how do you, when you get them there, do a total evaluation and get them to understand it?
Yeah, so getting them to say, gee, I think I need to see the doctor is as hard as it is for everybody else.
Yeah.
But as soon as they see the light and they realize, I think I really better attend to this. My strength's not the same, my energy's not the same, my stamina's not the same, my focus is not the same. All the things that are not necessarily sexual is what brings them, if you will, to say, you know what, let me check out my lab work. When I see a patient, we literally have it's 12 pages of questions that we ask them. And a lot of them are very, sexual. A lot of them are, as urology, we may be asking about urinary issues, about erections. For women, we're asking about, issues that they may deal with their sexuality. So right away they see, oh my goodness, I can talk to Dr. G about this. I can talk about my, issues with erections. I can talk about my dry vagina. All those questions are there. And it kind of rings a bell, and then it becomes part of that initial consultation.
So is it safe to say, and obviously it's not 100%, but is it safe to say that the majority of the world, men or women, at some point in their life do need some sort of boost, for a better term, whether it be through hormones, whether it be nutrition, whether it be exercise, whether it be inflammation, whether it be any of these? Because it's hard to say, I feel a twinge in my arm and I don't know what it is, but if you say generally, we all need something at some point in our life. At 30, you don't think that way. At 70 or 60 or 50, you may think.
So perfectly put. What happens is everybody has a different threshold at which they reach and they go, I'm symptomatic. I'm not the same. I don't feel the same person. A lot of different things. That's the time really to see the doctor. Typically for guys, my average age is probably 45 or so. Women maybe 45 to 50 as they start to experience some of the
that
menopausal
surprises
things.
me because I would never I wouldn't think that someone at 45 is in need of this.
Yeah.
You associate these needs of whatever at 65, 70.
Yeah.
But it really does start that much younger, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They'll see a change. Their wives might see a change. That maybe their sex drive is not the same. Erections may not be as firm, may not be as rigid, may not have the same maintenance. And it really affects guys' confidence and it affects the relationship. Sometimes they'll say, I think I'm okay, but my wife said, come on in. So I'm like, okay, I'm glad you're here. That's a message. So something triggers it, and that's when we start the evaluation. I've seen even guys in their 30s with hormonal issues, but those people are a different story. Typically, it's in the 40s or 50s for that. I want to pick up on one thing that you said. Even though we do focus on hormones, sexual medicine, probably the most important thing for people is their body composition, right? Everybody wants to keep their muscle or build more muscle or lose fat. Those are very common type of things that we see. And we have very specialized equipment. Actually, it's a whole body scan that shows us the amount, not just on a scale, it's a whole body scan, shows us where the fat is, where's the muscle, looks at your visceral fat on the inside, it looks at your tummy fat, and it's a very...
You would need a machine to show mine.
I mean, it helps us to know how people are doing, right? Because once we balance their hormones or we design a diet program or whatever it is, we can see progress. And people love to see that. They love the numbers and they love to see their body scans.
But it's interesting because, you know, I was going to get into this next because there's terms that you hear today. Obviously, longevity is a very broad spectrum of a term. And a friend of mine, I don't want to mention names, but he has a huge program going on at Jackson with stem cell research.
Sure.
And supposedly, and I don't know a thing about it, it's supposed to rejuvenate the stem cells as they get older. They have PRP shots, which are supposed to regenerate your studs. But in general, if Bob Shelley comes to you, what do you put me through before you make an evaluation? What would the average person go through in your office to do it?
When a person first comes to see me, my main thrust, if you will, of the first visit, what are your goals? I need to understand their goals because everybody's different. And sometimes it's very hard for them to express. Again, is it body composition, sexual medicine? Is it hormones? Is it mood? Whatever it is. And then we do a very extensive set of labs. We're checking not just the standard hormones, but other hormones as well. We're checking lipids, we're checking thyroid. We really want to make sure we're not missing something glaring, hemoglobin A1C, et cetera. So with that, between the labs, the machine I mentioned to you so we can understand body composition, then we can say, this is where you are physiologically. Let's look at your goals. Let's come up with a plan. Let's figure out how to intervene. See, typically when I start somebody on anything, I want to get lab levels in a month. I want to see how they're doing. And then after that, they're off and running for 3-4 months.
So when you talk about goals, I mean, if I went to see you, I would say my goal would be I want more energy, I want more sexual stamina, I want to be able to breathe when I walk up a flight of stairs without huffing and puffing.
Right.
I mean, isn't it hard to evaluate what is a goal except you want to feel better, I guess, generally speaking?
So we have a lot of strategies though. So first
Yeah.
we want to see if there's anything that's missing, right? What are the deficiencies? So we're talking in general now, not you with those complaints, but those are the most common things that I hear. Strength's down, energy's down. Energy's a big one. My concentration is not the same.
Right.
So we want to take a look and see, what are there true deficiencies? First level, balance hormone. After that, we have a lot of strategies. For example, we use a lot of peptides.
And I was going to ask you, when people talk about peptides, what is peptides? Is that some say it's for anti-inflammatory, some say it's for burning fat.
Yes, and the reason that you'll get different answers is there's different peptides.
Okay.
So peptides really is a slang, if you will, for messengers in our body. We replace messengers that tell us to help burn fat or to gain muscle or anti-inflammatory. The most common pushes our body to make growth hormone. Not growth hormone, but it helps us to make our natural growth hormone. So peptides in general are, very easy to take, sometimes oral, sometimes injectable. And we see a lot of progress. And again, our special whole body DEXA scan can help to quantitate fat loss and muscle gain. And we see how people are feeling. And if they say, wow, I'm right where I want to be, a lot of times we'll just continue them on whatever peptide is working for them. But as you say, there are different ones, and we choose the ones that make sense. We have some peptides for infertility. So everyone is a little different. We have to choose, and quality counts. There's a lot of different things that are out there. Everything that we use, they're all FDA-approved facilities. We have a lot of experience with certain ones, 10, 20 years, even more. So sometimes a patient comes to me and I say, show me a picture or bring in your message. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't help it. This is not the right product for you. So, there's a lot, as you said, little mom and pop shops out there that really, I would say, could meet higher standards, and most are not medically supervised properly. They all have to sign off on something from a physician. For me, every patient, every visit, I'm there.
So let's go back to peptides because I'm interested.
Sure.
So in other words, they have peptides, let's say, for anti-inflammatory. They have peptides to convert fat to muscle, so to speak. How do you measure the success of these, though?
So that special whole body DEXA will literally tell me how many pounds of fat somebody has and how many pounds of muscle. If we start peptides and we look 3-4 months later, we can see, oh my goodness, you actually gained 5 pounds of muscle in the last 4 months. You actually lost 5 pounds of fat. Scale says the same. Patients like my scale's the same. But they know they're looking better. Their friends are saying, oh my gosh, what are you doing? So that quantitates body composition.
So it's really not a weight loss as much as a conversion from fat to muscle.
Body composition.
Composition.
I love that term.
Yeah.
Because I can have somebody that has 140 pounds of muscle, but if they have 100 pounds of fat, they're not healthy.
Yeah.
Fat's a freeloader, creates a lot of inflammatory conditions, increased risk of heart attack, stroke, all that. So losing fat, absolutely critical. And that's the most common. A lot of guys will go to the gym, they lift weights, they do good resistance training, and they have good muscle, but they have all this visceral fat that's creating issues for them.
So I have a question because I've always thought about this because I hear, and maybe it's unfortunate, guys in their 40s that they want to take Viagra before they make love to their whoever. And I'm saying to myself, it's kind of a shame because it's going to mask if there really is a problem. It's almost like putting a Band-Aid on a cut, but you haven't really sutured the cut. So how do you tell someone, look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, let's say, a Viagra, Cialis, whatever it might be, but let's get to the problem first, and you may not need that any longer. How do you, where's that fine line of balance?
So everything you said is spot on. And we definitely want to see, if someone has an erection issue at 40, a true erection issue, we're not talking about performance anxiety, because that's understandable. They most likely have a cardiovascular issue because a good erection is good hormones and good blood flow. We can measure blood flow with an ultrasound. If somebody has poor blood flow in the penis, most likely they have cardiovascular poor blood flow. So when I see that, I'm going to send them to the cardiologist. You need an evaluation. But I want to answer practically what I would do. As I mentioned earlier, we did the early clinical trials for Viagra. We literally were one of the first 20 centers in the United States to get a chance to do clinical trials for Viagra long before it had a name. And they flew 20 of us, there were 20 centers in the country, up to Pfizer headquarters. And they said, they showed us the data and they said, what do you think? And all of us are like, what do you think? Like, they want to know if they should develop the drug. Absolutely. So they did. Years later, it was launched in 1998, 1999, but it was new and it was fresh. And because we were investigators, I flew all over the country to educate people. But the reason doctors mostly, the reason I'm telling you that story though, in the beginning, we felt a patient had to really, truly, hey, can you get an erection? Yeah, but it's not that great. No Viagra for you, okay? But now it's a different story. Erection issues we think of as a spectrum. And that spectrum might be if they want a 10 out of 10 rigidity and they're a 7, are they eligible? They're eligible. If they're having performance anxiety, we need to get them through. Are they eligible? They're eligible. And now we have 20 plus years of data for all these medicines. And it looks like, medicines like daily Cialis are probably a positive for our cardiovascular system. So I still use them for the sexual reasons, and also for urinary reasons. But it's all turned out to be wonderful long-term data.
So when somebody comes to you, do you find there's a reluctance to take hormones? Because I know, especially in women, the first thing women are afraid of, obviously, is does it create cancer?
Yes.
And I don't hear it as much with men as I hear with women.
Yeah.
What is the factual information behind? Does it have an adverse effect on the possibility of cancer?
Great. So for the men, there's zero issues for cancer. For decades ago, we thought there was a relationship between testosterone and prostate cancer. But the data is very clear. There's no relationship. There's no
Interesting.
causative relationship. That is very, very old, and that's poo-poo. For women, unfortunately, there were some negative studies about 20 years ago that have since been disputed, and now we know that by far and away, the benefits of estrogen and progesterone outweigh the minuscule potential, because we're not even sure, increased risk for breast cancer potential. Now, that's not true for everybody. Obviously, there's some women we don't give it to, family history, genetics, etc. But estrogen for women is not just about hot flashes. I think women don't really get that. They go through menopause and they're like, oh, but my hot flash just stopped already. I think I'm good. No, estrogen is it's for your brain. Estrogen is for your heart health. It's for your bone health. That's why older women who don't do estrogen wind up falling. They don't have the same central core. They're more likely to break a hip. So estrogen is for a lot of things. Very important for the vagina, for maintaining urinary health, for maintaining sexual health. So estrogen is really a hero. It really is something. And 20 years of women, I should say 20 years when that first study came out, women missed out. 60% stopped their hormones. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And now we know it's not true.
But what does the gynecologist say? Would he agree with you?
Some would and some would not.
Yeah.
My training is in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Gynecologists are gynecologists, and very few are interested in sexual medicine or hormones. All of my female patients have gynecologists. I require them. And I would say 98% of them are, thank you for taking care of our hormones. Thank you for being, because it's time, it's energy. It's a 45-minute interview every time and try to understand what's going on. The gynecologists, for the most part, don't have the time to do that. And that's fine. I have my space, they have their space, and if we can help women, that's all the better.
It's almost interesting when we're listening to you that the sex life of an individual is the alarm bell for when you need some help, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's whether it's male or female, erection or dryness, pain or urination, it all starts, and that's what sets off the alarm that says there's something wrong.
Correct. And it's usually so bothersome to people.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, what's going on here? And that helps, getting back to what you said earlier, helps to get them to the starting gate, to actually call and make an
So
appointment.
do you have, when somebody comes to you and you've done all this workup, and now you sit down and you give them their report and you show them this blood is bad, this, whatever the case is,
Exactly.
do you have trouble explaining and getting them to do something about it? And the reason I ask is, I'll tell you why.
Sure.
There's a personal friend I have, and in fact, he lives on the island, and he's always falling. He's always hurting himself. He's not that he's that old, but he doesn't have the strength. He doesn't have the stamina. He always has issues. And I said to him, "Have you had your hormones checked? Have you gone to a doctor and just had a workup?" And he said, "Oh, I don't believe in it. That's, my doctor said to take this for this and that for that and this for that," and he doesn't believe in it.
Yeah. So I think that's unfortunate, but that
Yeah.
segment of the population that really can't sort of get to the starting gate, it's there. Most of them are relatively old-fashioned. A lot of times their doctors are old-fashioned. But that personality trait is true for most other things in their life. It's hard to get to the starting gate.
Yeah.
And they won't see me. I mean, I'd be delighted to help them if they want to come in.
Uh-huh.
Most people, though, to answer your question, we elaborate, what are your goals? Most people, I would say almost everybody, they do want to try because they came for a very specific reason. And usually it's 5 or 6 reasons, but they do want to try. And then
Good.
if we get there and we meet their expectations, we meet their goals, they're happy campers, so to speak.
Well, it's amazing because actually in what you do, there is almost instant gratification. Unlike something that could take 6 years to find out,
Yes.
they're going to see the difference almost immediately.
Yes. And just for clarification for your viewers, instant is maybe a little bit much on the expectations,
I understand.
but typically I would say it takes us anywhere from 1 to 3 months to begin to change
Well, yeah, but
the
that's
things
pretty
we're
instant.
looking for. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, within 6 months,
Yeah.
someone's going to feel and look and feel better about themselves or feel more energy.
I think society in general, thanks to all of the commercials we see, the products that are out there talking about, quote, testosterone boosters, all the different things now, and the relaxed attitude about talking about sexual medicine. You know, before Viagra, like talking about erections was like, oh my goodness. And then before we knew it, Viagra was on the Super Bowl commercials, right? So people have a very low threshold now to come out and say, you know, geez, my erections aren't the same. Oh my goodness, you know, for women, I'm having pain on intercourse. I think that threshold has gotten, people are more likely to talk about it, more likely to come in, more likely to open up.
Interesting. Do you find that, is it equal, or are men easier to convince than women, or how would you judge I mean, are you equal in your clients?
I am actually.
That's
The
interesting.
new patients, it's literally 50-50 men
Wow.
and women. My wife, as you know, Amy's a nurse practitioner. She works with me. You know, we have a lot of friends on the island, and they know Amy, and they know that I do hormones and sexual medicine. So those folks already have enough trust in.
Is that why Amy's always smiling?
Yes. But of course.
So you're walking proof.
Yes.
Tell me something. There was something invented in Israel called the sonic wave, tell me about that.
Yeah, so the technology that you're talking about, Bob, started about 10 or 12 years ago at our research center. We did some of the very first trials. The general term for it is called low intensity shockwave therapy. What we're doing is we're actually applying shock waves to the penis in different formats. It's not an electrical wave. We don't electrocute the penis. It feels like a vibrator like that, but not a pleasant vibrator. And we apply it in 12 different areas. So there's 6,000 of those sound waves, and we have a series of 10. What we know from the data, and some of it we helped to obtain early on, shows that 70% of guys will have better rigidity. Why? What are we doing? So we're basically shaking up the penis enough that it recruits what are called stem cells that you mentioned earlier. First thing stem cells do, they create blood vessels. And as we mentioned earlier, erections are about good blood flow. So it works in that way, also helps to vibrate cholesterol, plaques, things like that from the penile arteries. So the data is quite good. The technique, everybody is different. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of shoddy techniques that are out there, some shoddy equipment. You know, in the advertising world, that's what drives people coming in. In my world, is people have had good experiences. And we've had wonderful results. The technique we used was taught to me and to my nurse practitioner, Amy, by a professor at Harvard. And so he had great data. We looked at his data. He's been a friend for a long time. He goes, Mark, get a machine.
So it helps blood circulation.
It's all about, we're back to good erections, good blood flow, good hormones. We fix the hormones, try to fix the blood flow.
So when somebody comes to you, I mean, testosterone obviously has other benefits other than sexual health as well. What are some of these benefits? Because, I mean, it's got to be a broad spectrum of benefits.
So one of the things that I do for every patient that comes in, every male over the age of 30, believe it or not, we give them a questionnaire that we've used in the past for our clinical trials. And on that questionnaire, it says, in the past few years, have you noticed a decrease in energy? Have you noticed a decrease in strength? Have you noticed a decrease in stamina? Have you noticed a decrease in your mental focus? Have you noticed a decrease in sex drive? Have you noticed a decrease in your erection? So we give them this 10-question questionnaire, and I can see the pattern already. And that's the starting place. We get their labs, we see what's going on. And measuring testosterone, it has to be done properly. It has to be done in a proper lab. There are many shoddy labs that are out there that some places use because they're cheaper. We use Quest, which is nationwide and covered by insurance. So we know that we're getting really the best assays, we call them, to understand the levels. So we match up the levels with the symptoms. To directly answer your question, what do we want to see in a month? Okay, my energy is up. My strength is up. My exercise is better. My exercise recovery is better. I want to go to the gym more often. I desire my wife more than before. She's really happy. My erections are a little bit stronger. So we're matching the clinical with the numbers. I keep them safe, if you will. I make sure we find the right numbers for them, and then the rest that's what I want to hear. Like when I finish a consult, most of the time I'm like, all right, home run. That was really good. Other times not. We have to readjust.
A question, and I don't know this answer. And I've heard it. I've heard about the thought process. Women, when you talk about a woman's hormone replacement, let's say, you talk about estrogen, you talk about not testosterone, you talk about estrogen, whatever. Yet in a man, it's mostly testosterone. But I forget what I was reading, that testosterone also helps women.
It does.
And yet you never hear about that, don't you?
It does. So it's a different approach in the premenopausal woman and the postmenopausal woman. But for postmenopausal, it's a no-brainer because when they go through menopause, they lose their ovaries, and the ovaries produce estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So it's a natural to replace all three. And some women, testosterone, but testosterone for women is very good for the same things for guys. It's very good for sex drive. It's very good for when at the right dose, right? Again, we don't want to use crazy doses. Sex drive, very good for maintaining muscle mass. It's very good for overall feelings of energy. Mm-hmm. So those are the reasons that women come to me, even premenopausally. Doc, you got to help my sex drive. Now, if I measure that testosterone's normal, it's a non-starter, and maybe it's a relationship thing. There's other things that can do it. But again, we're driven by labs, clinical, how they respond.
So it does work for women as well.
Oh yeah. See, 'cause
that's something women, you never read about. They always talk estrogen.
Yeah, testosterone. We have testosterone. We call them receptors everywhere in our body. Literally, we have it in our hearts. We have it in our brains. We have it in our muscles. We have it in our bone. We have it in our penises. Women have it also in their genital urinary tract as well. And we need it. And when we're deficient, our body cannot perform maximally. And I'm not just talking about sexual performance, it just can't do what it needs to do. So the idea again, evaluate and figure out where the deficiencies are and see if we can make them feel better.
So when you do this evaluation, included in the evaluation, is diet part of it, exercise part of it, other than the nutrition? I mean,
we find a lot of people are very educated about their diets now. They understand the difference between keto diet. They understand a Mediterranean diet. They understand. Most people come to me, they go, "This is what I'm doing. And it's not necessarily working. I think I could do better." We also work with a nutritionist, and we can refer out if we think that's going to be helpful for people who have issues, for sure. So yes, big part of what's important.
You know, it's interesting because I've seen your office, and so many offices, you go in this store and they have Botox and they have this shots. You go over here, you get this. It's almost like today you go to a dentist office if you want Botox. Yes. It's unfortunate and it may be safe. I'm not criticizing.
Right, I understand. It does.
But
yes.
What I find, and I imagine it's a big plus for you, when you go to your office, number one, it's very professionally run.
Thank you.
It's overseen by a medical doctor.
Thank you.
And you take the time to review everything, but I have to believe that gives a lot of confidence to the person.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Because I hear so many times, and I'm not criticizing any of these places because I don't know, but I would imagine if I was going to go any place, I would want to have medical supervision.
Of course.
Because to me,
Yeah.
because it is connected to everything else that goes on in your
Yes.
body.
And we can, we do have a nurse practitioner, my wife Amy. We do have a physician assistant. They have their place. But as a physician, we're learning all the time. We're going to conferences all the time. We're teaching doctors all the time. We're teaching patients all the time. To be 100% hands-on, I know my model is very unusual. It's very, reassuring, I think, to patients. And often I'll finish a consult and the patient is as complimentary as you've just been and said, "Thank you for listening to me." I've had a consult like this and I don't know how long, because a lot of times people are just come in, you need this, and you're all done. It's a
So
different
you're
approach.
saying that 45, 50 people should start getting an evaluation. Whether or not they need anything or not, that's when they should start getting it.
Yes. I mean, if we evaluate somebody with no symptoms and they don't have symptoms and their level's good, we're done. Hey, see you in a year. We'll check on your prostate or whatever, or we'll check on your hormones, et cetera. But not everybody needs to be treated. But when they reach the threshold, doc, I'm feeling blah, blah, whatever that list is, that's the time.
So really what it comes down to is, as I said in the very beginning, quality of life. Not how many years you live, it's how good those years are that you live.
Correct. That's exactly
And
right.
I think that's what this is all coming down to, isn't it?
It is, and that's
It-
the
it-
philosophy, right? You
yeah.
want to live to 100, be as healthy as possible, and as the expression goes, wake up at 100, you're dead.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to have that slow decline, arthritis,
Yeah.
high blood pressure, heart disease. It's a miserable, we want to try to, keep people as healthy
So what you
as
do,
possible.
in essence, does really, it's preventative more than a,
Oh,
a
yeah.
cure.
Absolutely.
It's a preventative lifestyle.
It's, yep.
So
And
what
all
you-
the things you mentioned are important. Exercise is part of it.
Yeah.
And we do guide patients through exercise with that particular machine result. Do they need to do cardio? Do they need to do high intensity interval training? Do they need to do more weights resistance training?
Right.
So that part we do, and all the things you mentioned, exercise, nutrition, goes along with good hormone balance.
So what about alcohol in connection with all of this? I mean, I enjoy a martini when I have dinner, whatever the case is. How does alcohol play a role in somebody's lifestyle? Is it detrimental to it, or in conjunction with what? If I was going to you for a full workup of all of these things, but at night I want to have a cocktail,
Yeah.
how does that fit in?
It's perfectly fine in moderation. There's
Okay.
so many studies that show it's probably a benefit to some extent, and again, in moderation. So it's fine. Now, too much alcohol is going to deprive the penis of good blood flow. So for a lot of guys, if they drink too much, it's going to affect their erection, their sexual performance. But in moderation, it's fine.
Doesn't.
Yeah. So
You and I having a martini, we're going to
we're
be fine.
Yeah. So there used to be an old joke. How do you know when your patient's drinking too much? It's when they're drinking more than you are. So,
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. So this is all happening today, and obviously it's amazing what you do, and the result it gives. What's the future hold for all of this? I mean, what is you're a research scientist, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Where is this going?
so the future of medicine, we don't know. There's always new clinical trials coming
Yeah,
along. We're actually about to, a company from Israel, again, contacted us. We're going to be looking at a totally different device to help with penile blood flow. It's never been studied before. So technology marches on. I think the hormones, though, are pretty basic. I don't think we're going to have anything that's going to be like earth-shattering there. But peptides, there's going to be new things coming down the pipeline. That's the beauty of medicine. It never stops. And
So tell me your opinion on stem cell research and stem cell replacement.
I think it's field by field. And what I mean by that, in the world of orthopedics where they're injecting joints, they are miles ahead of everyone else. In the world of urology, we are still testing in rodents, okay? So there's no application in anything that is sexual or
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
like that. In the world of general stem cells, the person I refer to is exactly the person you're talking about. That's at the University of Miami.
Right,
I feel
right.
comfortable referring to the university,
Sure,
and
sure.
I defer to them. I think we're going to see good things come out of that. But right now, there's a lot, at least in my mind, a lot of fine tuning. But I think it's important to find the right people.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add? Anything you want to ask me?
No, not on camera. No, and I really appreciate the opportunity to teach. I really enjoy it, and thank you for giving the opportunity to share my philosophy
Well,
with the patient.
and the reason I
Your
wanted
clients.
Dr. Gittleman to be with you is you're our neighbor. You live on the island. I mean, you're certainly not here to drum up business. You do very well without. But I think it's so important. We just had Carrie talk about nutrition and how important that is, and the exercise programs and all of that. But the bottom line is, if the body isn't physically fit to do all of those things, it makes a difference what we offer them here on the island.
Agreed.
It's a combination.
Yeah.
You must have that
Yeah,
blend.
Yeah, but we have a very special community here,
Uh-huh.
and I think everybody here is motivated to maximize their health, maximize their lifestyle. I don't think it's an accident that the spa and the gym is busy all the time, and that people are learning. I think it's terrific. I mean, when Amy and I go on walks around the island at night, you're always running in, to people that really value their exercise. And if you look around, people are, they look good. They're not, they're taking care of themselves. They're not, they haven't let it go.
Well, I think, it's interesting, and I just briefly, we look back on the pandemic, and it almost created a need and a desire, not only to get the COVID test, whatever you want to do, and some people agree, some don't, but more importantly, when the island was shut down and we allowed it to be open to walking and talking,
Yes,
and,
yeah, it was-
and we had
That was
outdoor
amazing.
activities,
Right.
it almost forced people to get into a much more health conscious lifestyle.
Yes. Agreed.
And now that it's over, it's still going on. People are still now continuing it. And with the younger generation moving in, it's almost like us old timers have to keep up with the youngers.
Yes.
And
It's
but it's
refreshing.
really
It's
interesting
nice.
to see, because I notice the same thing.
Yeah.
I go to the island, I go to the gym, I don't even know half these people anymore.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to see classes packed and people walking on the streets at night and such.
Along the same lines, I think, after COVID, we're not saying it's totally over, but the pandemic is over. People want to get their health back. They're health oriented. What do I do now? People are coming back to the office. People are coming to me and say, I put this off for too many years. People are in that mode.
Well, I want to leave this one thought, because what we're doing here is summing up what we've heard today on the show. Williams Island is very unique. We've tried to create an environment, a lifestyle. It's not just having a bedroom and a kitchen and an apartment. We wanted to have a gym. We wanted to have a pool area. We wanted restaurants, Starbucks, lifestyle. All of these things go along with it. But probably without good health, you can't enjoy all of this. And what we're doing here, and what I'm trying to accomplish here, is bring to people's attention that take care of your body. The body will then take care of your lifestyle.
Yep, perfect
But
summary.
if you don't have a body to take care of it, so many people just you read every day the people are passing away, and they're losing this and that because they didn't take care of themselves when they should have. So we want you to enjoy the island, and we're not here to sell Dr. Gittleman. We're here to sell good health, nutrition, and be proactive. Take the initiative. Don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to go to the gym and talk to Carrie and get these testings done, or go to the Dr. Gittlemans of the world. This is all about proactive, taking care of your body so your body can take care of you and allow you to enjoy what we want to offer you. So, Doctor, I want to
Spot
thank
on.
you so much for coming here.
My pleasure,
This is
Bob.
amazing. And thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed today, and there'll be much more to come, I promise you. Have a wonderful, healthy day.